He is the chosen one. You must see it.
I gave Qui-Gon my word.
Is he the chosen one?
He is.
And it is the Jedi who will stand in the way of peace.
It's not whether or not we fight.
It's how we choose to fight that matters.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
The Force will be with you, always.
And I will not be the last Jedi.
You're listening to The World Between Worlds, a Star Wars podcast where we have been marathoning all of Star Wars and lead up to the Rise of Skywalker. Or, I could say, we've actually just been marathoning up until the Season 2 finale of Rebels. That's up next. Right now, it's the 2 episodes right before the season finale. This is The Forgotten Droid and the Mystery of Chopper Base. This is a nice little breath of fresh air, sort of like decompression mode from the sort of cliffhanger in the last week where the Jedi are about to go on a mission. Over these 2 episodes, the Rebels find their new base, and Chopper finds a new friend. My name is Yates.
My name is Jessica.
My name is Jordan. My name is Keats.
In the first episode, The Forgotten Droid, Chopper is separated from the Ghost crew when he chases after and steals a mechanical leg for a replacement for him. Hijinks ensue, but most importantly, he is introduced to an Imperial droid named AP5, and very quickly they develop a powerful relationship that leads them to maybe finding that new Rebel base they've been looking for.
Why are you changing course? Where are you taking us? The Rebel fleet, why would I go there? How do I know your rebels will treat me better than the Empire? Because I am your friend.
Chopper is just so great.
Jessica has been clamoring for some more Chopper content. Like, every week, Jessica falls more in love with Chopper. As we all do, Chopper's fantastic. This is our first big Chopper episode. What was the most interesting part of it to you?
Well, I always like how, like, the free will thing that goes throughout it. I really like seeing, like, the parallels between the droid rights and human rights and discrimination in our own world, and how, like, even the Ghost crew is like, stop focusing on your broken leg. Like, who gives a fuck about that?
We have to go back for Chopper.
I warned him not to get distracted by that leg.
You don't even know if that's what happened.
Oh, I know. I know that droid. He's always thinking about himself.
Hera in this episode is in the frame of mind that that's like all he is a problem. Sure, so to see like Chopper redeem himself. Yeah.
Like, if it was one of them who had a broken leg.
Yeah, they'd be like, everyone stop.
It would be like a whole episode mission to try to, like, fix Hera's leg. But, like, when it comes to Chopper, it's just like, shut up. Don't focus on that. Doesn't matter.
I guess that's a good point, also sort of, like, bringing it into the real world in just, like, we see the world from Chopper's point of view, and then halfway through the episode, we're introduced to AP5, and we get, like, a whole different point of view of, like, what it's like to be a droid. Because usually, thinking about it, most of the droid main characters are, like, the droids that are aligned with the good guys. Like K2SO, Chopper, BB-8. They're used to, like, living a certain lifestyle or whatever, and then the Imperial droid, AP5 is like a working stiff. And he has, like, you know, I have my job, I have my quotas, and so on and so forth. And the way he's, like, discriminated against is more just, like, his boss is just a huge asshole.
And they, like, literally, they threaten him with death.
If you don't stock that shelves, I'm gonna drill your brain.
Yeah, and they think that's normal. Like, not only, like, if you think your boss is a huge asshole.
Yeah, I mean, AP5 literally says, like, hey, you know, I love my life and I love my work. Well, you know, except for my boss who, like, threatens to kill me, like, on a daily basis. But, like, other than that,
programmed to like it.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is how we are.
But then he lets go of his programming, like, really quickly. You know, like, it's not that much of a jump for them.
I mean, you just gotta take out the restraining bolt and be like, yo, you can have free will.
But even before that, like, before he takes off the restraining bolt, he decides not to report Chopper.
That's true.
Keep an eye out for stowaway rebels. They get by on your watch, I'll put you in the melter myself. I must report. I have not seen any rebels aboard this vessel.
Good. Now get me that manifest.
That's all like AP5 needed to like disregard his programming. It was just like somebody that respects him.
I like seeing how they all have stories, you know, like with the main human characters, they all have war stories, but also like with the droids as well. Like they are just as much like in their own worlds taking place in this war and like have memories, you know, and have different allegiances. And I would love to see like a droid bar, like of how they all
that's cool.
act together, like when they're just only around each other.
I don't think they go to the bar. I mean, they had that spa in Clone Wars, so maybe like they should have showed more of them like interacting with each other at the spa.
It doesn't have to be a bar, just like a meeting place.
Yeah, just like what the droids do, like recreationally, socially, just to hang out.
That'd be pretty cool.
They're all like very like socially strange, but in a very endearing way.
I think I like it just like, I forget.
it.
I feel like we talked about it in Clone Wars, but just like the notion that like the way you're programmed, like their programming is first about like you have a job to do. This is how you do your job. And like that makes AP5 like, because he's like a scientist basically, like that makes him sort of like an insular, sort of like quirky, like detail-oriented guy. And Chopper is like a soldier, and he's like a sort of like a human Swiss Army knife, and he needs, and so he's like a little more eccentric and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of just like all these different droids with different, and some droids don't even speak basic, like they just speak in like bleep bloop bleep bloop bloop bloop.
Astromech.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I loved when they were like bonding about being like veterans.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I thought that was
It's not like what you'd first like jump to, like what's the episode going to be about, and it's just like the two characters like connect over the fact like that they were involved in the war.
I just like see my customers at my job that have like the veteran hats, and like, I mean, hearing stories is like interesting.
And then like also kind of seeing how AP5 is so desperate for conversation. Like they immediately just like talk to each other, and he's just really ready, I think, to talk. Like it must be such a lonely life.
Jordan, you love AP5.
I do. It's the homie.
AP5's the homie. Go off. Why is he the homie?
I don't know, man. He's just a giant cheese ball. And I love it. Like, he is my friend. Like, he just kept saying that.
God.
It made me so happy.
I feel like everyone, like, has, like, an AP5 in their life. Like, AP5 is, like, a type of person that we can all, like, easily clamp onto.
And just, like, everyone loves to feel involved with other people, you know? So he was just longing for that special someone, and that special someone came along, and it was Chopper.
They're so strong and brave, and I just kept thinking like the word redemption with this whole episode. Like, you know, you can live your whole life like basically a slave, and then just in one day
just whack him with a prosthetic leg and
now he's
free.
part of the rebel crew. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Did you think that his story was over when he died in the ship?
Yes, and I was like, no!
I won't forget you, my friend.
They killed him!
I thought his, like, death, quote-unquote, was pretty impactful.
Yeah.
It was like one of the strongest.
Super serious.
It was super serious, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, they could probably get away with it because it was a droid.
Yeah, like
the
just
kids
being more brutal, like they shot him 2 times.
Yeah. They couldn't show like Sabine getting like shot and then like Ezra like holding her hand and then she dies.
Yeah.
Kids would cry.
But the droids, they can get away with it. Yeah,
well, I mean, that's just a robot.
I guess because I think they're come off so like childlike. Like I think it's very easy to like connect with droids.
I'm telling you,
especially
man.
if the storytelling just does even like a somewhat solid job. Like there's like an immediate connection to these characters because they're so. I mean, I would just describe the whole episode as cute, but it's like way more than that because it's like genuinely very touching. But like a part of it is just. The droids are just so cute.
Well, I feel like the droids are also a little like, especially the like circular ones are kind of like dogs.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, they are.
I think we think that too because they don't like speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They make like.
Yeah, Chopper especially.
I feel like the droids are like the next frontier in the Star Wars universe in terms of like
so much untapped potential there.
Yeah,
gaining rights, and I would love to see a full movie. About droids. That's
hey,
really
remember the
good.
droid arc from Clone Wars where I was saying this and everyone was like, "So fucking stupid, Jordan."
I still think it's fucking stupid. No, I don't know. I mean, I don't care about droids that much, unless it's an interesting story, you know.
But if it was like really good and well done and tied into like larger themes, you know,
they have to commit to it. It can't be like, and I think that's the problem. Like we see like elements of it, like we see tiny glimmers of it in the prequels and Clone Wars, and tiny bits of it in Solo.
Oh God, in Solo they did such a hackneyed.
Yeah, it's like they don't commit to it in the right way. It's just like, let's just like throw the droids in there and, oh, how do we make it relevant? Yada, yada, yada. That's how L3 was made, but...
I love Chopper. And AP5.
Yeah.
And 000.
I think they're much more compelling droid characters than like C-3PO and even R2-D2, Chopper and AP5. I mean, we just met AP5.
Yeah.
But...
Already.
I mean, they're like the
already.
C-3PO.
I mean, I would say it's also like the format too, but like we've had 2 seasons to get to where we're in love with Chopper and AP5. But to be fair, also, like the comics and stuff, like C-3PO and R2 are in there, and they're usually just like okay.
Right. But also, yeah, like we only get to see C-3PO and R2 in like a reaction happenstance. We never get to see them actively involved in stuff, except for those 2 Clone Wars episodes that we get.
Right, like you never really see like R2-D2 like being instrumental in like having a whole freighter of cargo like just
what are you talking
falling
about?
into
He
space.
sacrificed himself in that one Clone Wars episode.
The droid arc?
Yeah.
I probably didn't watch it.
Yes.
She didn't. That's the one where Pete's cried for 20 minutes.
Yeah. One question I had, because, you know, it's really easy to compare this to the droid arc from Clone Wars. The one problem that you guys had with the droid arc was that there's so much like exposition happening where like a droid will say something, beep, boop, beep, and then someone like basically says verbatim what they said in English. And that happened a lot.
Basic?
Or basic, however you want to say it. But so that happened a lot in this episode too. So my question is, how does it differ? How do you guys see it as different?
I just didn't even really notice that.
Yeah.
Like I understand how that would be noticeable and distracting, but in this case, it was like the pacing was so good that it didn't like bother me.
It doesn't bother
I'm
me either.
aware of it, but it doesn't like stand out. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think the obvious difference is that the Clone Wars episode had like 5 different droids, and the reality was only like 2 of them were important. And so you have like 3 faceless droids who are just there basically as cannon fodder, when really the story's like about R2 and
it's trying to tell the cannon fodder stories as well, and it's not as interesting.
Yeah, the difference here is it's just, this episode is very direct, and it's just like, let's tell a story about 2 droids just like starting a friendship and what that's like. And so I think, I really did enjoy the droid episode, and especially the in Clone Wars, and especially the existential one where they're all out in the desert. That one's great.
That episode's pretty good.
This one is just about 2 characters just like building, you know, a bridge and friendship, and that I think it's just like more direct, and so it's easier to understand.
Just like circling around yet again, when Yoda was talking about like we have to think about what winning actually means, and we were talking about winning meaning more like bringing people in to like the inner circle. Like now they're getting like, it's so cool seeing how their rebel army is like expanding with all of these different people who like you would think like, okay, well we can't let this person in, we can't let that person in, like we can't let like an Imperial droid in, but like then they all get brought back into the fold, and it like makes their mission that much more successful, which was cool.
Episode needed to happen, and it was very important because, you know, without AP5 they wouldn't have found the new base.
Yes.
And now they have like an Imperial droid, so they can definitely get info
Yeah.
out of him. So it like kind of connects to it. So it was like
Yeah,
fun.
definitely. I mean, it was hugely. It was like that was what they wanted all season, was to get a base, and they got their base. In the mystery of Chopper Base, they explore the new Rebel base they have found, the Rebel base on Adalon, and there they discover that there are spiders. The spiders are not nice and create problems. Meanwhile, they have to go through and unpack some of that emotional baggage because Ezra and Kanan are preparing to leave on a Jedi mission that's potentially dangerous and could tear the family apart. And that is what's on everyone's minds. What is on our minds?
That is the most important question of all.
Boo.
Okay, we'll start off positive. Brother Keats, you really liked this episode.
Was that the only one that liked this episode?
No, I like this episode.
Okay,
cool.
I thought it was whatever. What was the most interesting thing to you about this episode?
I mean, obviously all the Hera stuff, and I liked how like Sabine actually got involved within Hera and Kanan's relationship, because
Yeah, I like that part.
Sabine getting involved is not something that usually happens.
You'd better go talk to Hera.
Why? What's wrong?
Kanan, wake up. She might agree with your mission, but you're still walking out and taking Ezra with you.
To see that go on was really cool.
And we had like a cool Sabine floating with the Force thing.
Yeah, like a little action moment.
Cool.
Yeah.
To quote Jordan from a few episodes ago, if you're going to show me action, show me something I haven't seen before. And that's how I felt about this episode.
Yeah. It was a creature feature episode, but like I felt like it was really well done.
Okay.
Like it was actually like scary and like the stakes seemed like higher, and I don't know. I just thought for a creature feature episode, it was like a really good version of that.
Cool. Like that one shot where the ghost is like completely tied down in web. Like it looks like something out of a nightmare.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I thought the whole look of like the spiders was cool, and I guess like they were trying to find like an episode that they can tell right before, you know, the big finale, like what can we do as just sort of like a smaller story while the characters are sort of, you know, going through their shit.
Right, yeah. I could totally see like someone coming into this episode with like the point of view of like thinking the creators are like, we have to tell the Kanan and Hera emotional beats. How do we do that within an episode? Oh, we'll write some shit about spiders. The thing is, they're really good at making stories, so they made a really good spider episode.
Well, and I like genuinely don't know what will happen next with the base because I haven't watched like the series. But I thought, is this foreshadowing? Because if
Did you say
foreshadowing, but I should say that. Foreshadowing.
That's a good segment name.
That would be good, yeah.
50 episodes in. We finally cracked it.
But, because, like, Ezra couldn't connect with the spiders.
That was
like,
really interesting to me.
I was like, okay, so then are the spiders, like, Sith spiders? They're, like, evil, like, dark spiders, which, like, okay, it would make sense that, like, other animals and beings are connected to the dark side of the Force.
Right.
And then, like, do they, like, communicate with, like, other dark beings who are going to, like, rat them out on this base? And I was like, so that's where I felt like it was, like, they made it count.
I never thought about that. That's really cool.
That's kind of what I was thinking of, and I was curious because I feel like they could do that, and I don't really remember. I feel like the spiders at least show up a couple more times, but I'm not sure how big they are in the story when they do come back. So I'm curious to see how that plays out.
I hope they have like lightsaber legs that are red. And then they spin so they like fly.
No, and that's
and their
that's,
fat bodies are like Death Stars. And
No. That's how they destroy the base. They finally turn on, after 1,000 years, they turn on their red lightsaber legs, and then they just go all the way down to the Earth's crust and blow up the entire planet.
They totally abandoned that girl too. Like we found.
Dicer?
I know.
Yeah.
The other homie, come on. What's up?
Yeah, I know. They just let her die.
Those creatures took him. I think they got Dicer too.
Chopper, locate Rex's position.
Oh,
Yeah,
well.
but Rex survived, of course.
Rex survived. Dicer. Well.
What I didn't like about the episode is I felt like they didn't. I
Read
guess
it good? Yeah, me too.
Yeah, kind of. I didn't like. I felt like they were doing a creature feature episode, but they didn't like commit to any one thing. And it was kind of like the first half was like a horror type of thing, and definitely hit like the horror beats of like, oh, people are disappearing. Oh, let's investigate. Oh shit, spiders are out. And the second half is like a survival type of thing where they're all just like barred in, kind of like the end of Aliens.
Zombies.
Yeah, zombies,
Aliens.
Definitely. But I don't know. It just didn't feel like the other creature feature episode in season 1. I just didn't feel the threat. I like that.
Yeah,
the spiders
agree.
are. Because, I mean, that's the thing. If you're doing a horror episode, like, it needs to be scary. And I didn't feel...
I'm just grossed out. Those things are disgusting.
By the multi-leggers?
That was the one thing. I thought they looked...
Yeah.
I did criticize
They
the other
looked
one, where,
gross.
like, the other monsters were like, these aren't scary at all.
Yeah.
But these were actually gross. And I liked them. I thought it was cool when the ship tries to take off, and just the idea that the spider webs, there's so many, and they're so strong,
That's
that the ship can't
nasty.
even lift off. That was cool.
I thought that there was like a lot of elements, like it's like the whole like snail thing. Okay, we're like drop that, and then it's like, oh, you can shoot them in the eye, and then there was the whole like don't like this force field.
Yeah.
It was just like a
just throwing
lot of like things.
And then
Rex
meanwhile,
sucks,
the
too.
real great stuff is just the scenes where it's just like, and it was a lot of the episode too, of just the characters like, hey, we're leaving, like, how do you feel about this? And just like the characters just sort of like decompressing. Because that's what really this episode is. It's like a breath. That's what really both of these episodes are. It's just like the final breath before the end of the season and shit goes down.
Exactly, yeah.
And so for me, I felt like that part of the episode and like the horror suspense part of the other half of the episode just didn't like mesh for me. But all the individual components I liked. I just didn't think it was an entertaining 20-minute episode.
But I do agree with you that like that once that it started to get super action heavy, like when they're like trying to leave the ship, my brain like kind of disengaged a little bit.
Yeah, definitely that happened with me as well.
But I wasn't like completely offline. Like I still thought that like the way that the action scenes were put together like felt really cool. Like I like seeing Rex and Chopper fight together. Like just like stuff like that, dynamics we haven't seen before. Throwing Sabine, really interesting stuff. It's just it was like the storytelling wasn't that strong.
I think it's just for me like the part that worked in the episode was like the emotional stuff with the characters.
Yeah, definitely.
And to me that just felt like very separate from the action story. And normally when, I think Star Wars is at its best when both of those things are married really well and you get a good action story that finds a way to like draw these emotional moments out.
But comparing it to Clone Wars, I would say I was actually able to hold my attention.
I got you. I would say no, but I can completely understand. The characters carry you through the episode.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps it up. We are going to watch the season 2 finale right now, and you can expect the episode coming up very shortly.
And that marks the halfway point of Rebels.
Yeah.
Already.
Feels like we've been watching it for a while though.
We have.
Anyways.
My name is Yates.
My name is Jordan.
My name is Keats.
My name is Jessica.
They have to say how I say it.
My name is Kate.
And may the Force be with you.